Survivor Winners at War premiered on February 12, 2020, as 20 former winners were brought back to duke it out to crown the ultimate Survivor winner, with the prize this year being $2 million. DeCall and Silly immediately competed for immunity, with DeCall coming out on top. Knowing they were the biggest targets, Rob and Parvati immediately aligned, and would form an old school alliance along with Danny and Ethan. Denise and Adam quickly became easy names when they disappeared from camp to talk, but Adam campaigned that an actual real-life duo needed to be broken up instead, with that being Natalie and Jeremy. And at Tribal, unexpectedly in the middle, the old school alliance realized that Jeremy and Natalie were simply too threatening of a duo, and thus, Natalie was the first person sent to the edge in a 7-2-1 vote.
Natalie, the tribe has spoken.
The premiere continues on with Natalie having the chance to will an idol good for 3 tribal councils to the losing team that night, to which Sandra would end up getting. On the call, Tony and Sandra patched things up as big threats, while Yul and Sophie made a one-time players alliance with Wendell and Nick. At the immunity challenge, Sally would respond from the loss by coming out on top to win immunity. A majority alliance quickly formed on the call, and that was everyone that wasn't involved in a poker match from years ago, with the players from that event and Tyson, Kim, and Amber being on the outs. Realizing for the first time in his Survivor career he was on the bottom, Tyson quickly flipped to the majority, leaving the tribe to decide between Kim, Survivor's most dominant winner, or Amber, literally married to Rob on Cele. In the end, the tribe couldn't pass up the opportunity to break up Amber and Rob before a swap, and thus, she became the second person sent to the edge in a 6-3-1 vote.
Amber, the tribe has spoken.
After receiving a fire token, Rob was concerned that Amber was the one who got the boots on the call. On Cele, Denise found an idol, but she needed to give one half to someone else to make it a full idol, and after convincing her to not pair with Parvati, Adam would receive the other half. Knowing she was on the bottom, Kim also found the split idol when looking for it, and decided to share it with Sophie. On the edge, Natalie and Amber looked for an advantage all day, to which Natalie would eventually find and share it with Jeremy, and for one fire token, Jeremy would have the ability to leave tribal council before the votes were cast. At the immunity challenge, the call would bounce back, winning immunity. The old school alliance knew they had to stick together to take out a new schooler to even up the numbers. However, feeling like she was on the bottom of the old schoolers, Danny ratted out the alliance to Ben, but this completely backfired as Ben went back to the old schoolers to tell them about Danny's scheming, making her an easy target for everyone. At Tribal, the paranoia continued, with Rob even making everyone empty their bag for an idol. But when the vote was revealed, everyone was able to come together to get rid of Danny, send her to the edge in a unanimous vote.
Danny, the tribe has spoken.
Realizing the other 3 old scores would likely remain tight, Adam finally got the new scores together to make an official new school alliance. Knowing he was on the bottom of the call, Tyson tried to rally the votes together against Sandra, but this backfired as Yul rat out his plan to Sandra. On the edge, Natalie once again found an advantage, with this being a vote steal, and she gave it to Sarah. However, Sarah would have to go into Sally's camp to get it, and with the help of her Cops R Us ally Tony, she was able to get it without anyone noticing. At the immunity challenge, DeCall just edged out Sally to win immunity. Despite having the numbers already, Adam got greedy and tried to get both Ethan and Rob on board to take out Parvati. Rob obviously would rat out Adam to the majority in an attempt to flip the game around onto him. However, while the other 4 new schoolers knew they couldn't fully trust Adam, they did realize they couldn't let the old school alliance stick together come a possible swap, and targeted Ethan since Parvati and Rob would be more threatening come that swap. And at Tribal, Adam voted for Parvati, and the 3 old schoolers voted for Adam, but the remaining 4 new schoolers weakened Rob and Parvati by taking out Ethan in a very sad 4-3-1 vote.
4th person voted out of Survivor, winners at war. Ethan, need to bring me your torch? Ethan, the tribe has spoken.
With all 3 feeling like outsiders, the duo of Rob and Parvati continued to campaign to the majority that Adam was playing both sides, while Adam tried to play it smooth and hope the new scores would protect him. On to call, Tyson correctly identified the one-time player alliance and warned Sandra about this. However, Sandra still didn't trust Tyson after he threw her name out. At the immunity challenge, Sally would make an incredible comeback, saving Adam and saying to call to Tribal. After being the one who choked on the puzzle, Nick became the target for Tyson, and tried to get all the big threats together to go against the less threatening one-time players. Tony, Sarah, and Kim were all down for this, but Sandra was still hesitant since Tyson had been going for her, and thus, not having the numbers, everyone went along with the easy Tyson plan as he was sent to the edge in a 7-1-1 vote.
Tyson, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 5 begins with a tribe swap, with the tribes going from 2 to 3. The new DeCall tribe consisted of 3 former DeCall and Kim, Tony, and Sandra, with Jeremy and Denise as the only Cele. The new Cele tribe consisted of 3 former DeCall as well, and Wendell, Nick, and Yul, with Michelle and Parvati as the 2 Cele. And a third tribe called Yara consisted of 3 former Cele and Ben, Rob, and Adam, with Sophie and Sarah as the original DeCall. On DeCall, Jeremy and Denise tried to recruit Kim to their side, realizing that Sandra and Tony were close and rebounded after game changers. On Cele, Michelle and Wendell, who had previously dated, awkwardly reunited, and on Yara, Boss and Rob implemented the buddy system on Sarah and Sophie. Unfortunately for him, Sophie would find an idol. At the immediate challenge, Yara blowed at the puzzle, sending them to the first tribal council as swap tribes. Rob literally kept all 5 within distance all day, and while Sophie and Sarah were confident that Adam and Ben wanted to vote out Rob, they were relying on very little information. At tribal though, Sarah didn't play her extra vote, and Sophie didn't play her idol, banking on Adam and Ben being with them, and their instincts were correct, as Rob was sent to the edge in a unanimous vote.
Rob, the tribe has spoken.
Despite knowing getting rid of Rob was necessary, Adam once again felt like he was on the bottom of his tribe. On the edge, Tyson found an advantage and gave it to Parvati, with the advantage being an idol nullifier, which cost her 1 fire token, with Tyson trading that fire token for a jar full of peanut butter. At the immediate challenge, it was announced that there will be only one winning tribe, with the 2 losing tribes both going to tribal to vote somebody out. Adam will once again be saved, as Yara would come out on top to win immunity. On Cele, while Michelle and Wendell did have an alliance, Wendell was sketched out when Michelle told him she wanted to vote for him, knowing Parvati would give her fire token. So Wendell tried to work with Parvati to make sure she wouldn't vote for him, but Parvati used this obvious schemish play from Wendell to recruit Nick to flip on him. At tribal though, while Michelle did indeed vote for Wendell for that fire token, the tribe just simply couldn't pass up the chance to take out Parvati, as she was sent to the edge in a 3-2 vote.
7th person voted out of Survivor. Winners at war. Parvati, need to bring me a torch?
Whoa.
Parvati, the tribe has spoken.
On Decall, with the big 3 Decall targets in the majority, they agreed that Jeremy would be a much bigger meat shield going forward than Denise. However, Sandra, wanting to work with Denise, gave her idol that was good for one final time in exchange for a fire token, and her sole vote could take out one of the guys. But with all the power now in her hands, Denise flat out made an all-time big move, and single-handedly took out the queen.
Jeff, can you give me a minute?
Sure. Are you kidding me right now?
I found something along the way today.
Have a seat.
Okay. Jeff, can you give me 1 more minute? I'd like to play those for Jeremy.
For Jeremy. Denise, does not count. 1 vote left. 8th person voted out of Survivor. Winners at war. Sandra. Sandra, the tribe has spoken.
Knowing she had no chance of ever winning a challenge, Sandra raised a flag and chose to leave the game, and in all likelihood, would be the end of the Queen on US Survivor. On Cele, Michelle extended her trust to Wendell by giving a fire token to him, but began to question this decision as everyone on the tribe began to take note of Wendell's cockiness. And this boiled over at the immunity challenge when Wendell, who I'm sure had PTSD from Ghost Island, called Jeff's name out before completing the puzzle, and this extra second was literally the difference maker, and maybe even changed Survivor history, as Tony and Decall just edged out Cele. Yule campaigned for Wendell, but unfortunately, the new school and pregame alliance of Wendell, Michelle, and Nick held strong, as Yule was voted out unanimously, ending this dreaded pre-merge boot order.
Yule, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 8 begins with the first re-entry duel challenge, with Tyson putting those calories and protein from the peanut butter to good use, earning himself a spot back in the game, and thus, the now 12 remaining players would merge.
For the win!
It's coming for you.
And he's got it!
The merge dynamics quickly began to take shape, as the big-time players such as Jeremy, Ben, Tyson, and Tony aligned against the less flashy players, with Denise becoming a target after word got around about her big move against Sandra. However, she would win immunity along with Jeremy, and thus, new targets would emerge. Jeremy wanted to target Nick, but Sophie, who saw Jeremy was gaining a lot of power, got the majority to target Wendell to weaken him. Once Jeremy realized this, he tried to switch the target to Adam, an even easier target everyone could go after as opposed to Wendell. In the end though, Sophie's influence was too strong, and Jeremy reluctantly aligned with the majority alliance to send Wendell to the edge in a 9-3 vote.
Wendell, the tribe has spoken.
After getting votes, Adam knew he would still likely be a target going forward, and noticed the symbols on the podium were similar to the idol Denise shared with him on day 4, and thus figured US Survivor was stealing from SA Survivor with the podium idol. At the award challenge, the team of Kim, Ben, Michelle, Sarah, and Sophie won Chinese takeout, but Sarah decided to give up her spot to Nick, as yesterday was his birthday. Even though she claimed this wasn't strategic, Adam used this as an easy way to paint the target on the Sarah. On the edge, Parvati found a coin flip advantage that was a 50-50 shot at immunity you could play at tribal, and she gave it to Michelle for 4 fire tokens, to which she accepted. After Kim won immunity, the easy plan was to split the votes on Adam and Nick, with Adam as the target. However, both of them would go to work to try to save themselves, with Nick telling Tyson that Sophie was gunning for him, while Adam continued to campaign for Sarah. At tribal though, Adam knew he was in too much danger, especially after Ben called him out for going after Sarah, and so, in an act of desperation, he attempted to play the podium idol.
Damn. Nothing, huh? Not anything? Looked like maybe it was something.
You want to play this?
Yeah, can I play that?
This thing that you can't get off of the voting podium.
Yeah, I want to play that.
That is not a hidden immunity idol.
Worth a shot.
That is just part of the voting podium. 11th person voted out of Survivor. Winners at war. Adam, at 6, that's enough. Need to bring me your torch.
It was worth a shot.
Always. Adam, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 10 now, the family visit episode, where all 19 players still in the game would get to spend the day with their loved ones, as between the Edge and the actual game players, this would take up literally half the episode. I understand why Survivor did this, but man, did this feel like overkill, and made for one very confusing episode due to the lack of time. At the immunity challenge, Tony would win his first ever individual immunity, which was a good thing, because this vote was absolutely chaotic, to where even the hardcore fans couldn't understand what was happening. To sum things up, there were two 5-person alliances, with one side consisting of Ben, Nick, Sarah, Sophie, and Tony, and the other side being Denise, Jeremy, Kim, Michelle, and Tyson. And the two sides were each throwing out a bunch of names on who the best choice would be, while also trying to safely recruit players from the opposing side to flip. And then when Tribal came, things were made even more confusing as Jeremy, the main target of the other side, chose to use his advantage to leave Tribal, while Sarah used her steal vote on Denise. When all was said and done, Kim used her idol on Denise, and she and Tyson voted for Sophie, but Michelle flipped over to the other side to take out Tyson for the second time, sending him back to the Edge in a 5-2 vote.
Tyson, tribe has spoken.
Again. Episode 11 now of Survivor Winners at War, aka the greatest episode from Survivor's greatest player, and arguably the best individual episode in Survivor history. It started with Tony finding an idol and being sent an advantage from the Edge, or so he thought.
This is the extortion advantage. This blocks a player from participating in the next immunity challenge, prohibits them from voting at the next tribal council, unless the player is able to meet the payment demands. This advantage is being played against you.
But unbelievably, Tony and his big-time target was able to be social enough to earn his needed 3 fire tokens to compete for immunity, and as the Survivor guides would have it, he would come out on top to win a second straight. But he wasn't done there. With the plan for tonight being an easy split vote on Michelle and the target Jeremy, Tony recruited the two and Nick to blindside Sophie, as their 4 votes would be enough, and this would force Sarah to stay loyal to him, as he could tell she was getting too close to Sophie. And at Tribal, this plan went through, ending this iconic episode with Sophie getting blindsided in a 4-3-2 vote with an idol in her pocket.
13th person voted out of Survivor. Winners at war.
No.
Sophie, need to bring me your torch.
Pocket. I don't know how I do this.
That sucks.
I'm seeing this.
Sophie, the tribe has spoken.
Okay.
Tony would show Ben and Sarah his idol to regain their trust, with Ben also finding another idol in front of Tony, giving the trio a lot of power. And after his incredible episode, Kim made Tony #1 on her hit list. However, that plan went out the window as Tony and Denise would both win individual immunity. While Jeremy was initially the easy plan, Ben told Tony that Kim had been gunning for him, and so, Tony got Ben, Sarah, Nick, and Jeremy on board to take out Kim. Michelle, sensing Jeremy was in trouble, gave him her 50-50 coin. After yet another live tribal, Kim continued to scramble, and Jeremy took a massive gamble by holding on to his 50-50 coin despite knowing he was getting 3 votes. But this risk paid off as the majority 5 stood strong, and Kim was sent to the Edge in a 5-3 vote.
Kim, the tribe has spoken.
Thanks, Jeff.
Even though she voted for him at Tribal, Jeremy gave the 50-50 coin back to Michelle, as he actually did feel a bit secure, especially since Ben and Tony wanted to keep him around for a bit longer as a shield, and take out Nick next. However, Nick would foil those plans, winning his first individual immunity, so with that plan out the window, the tribe went with the easy plan to split the votes on Michelle and Jeremy, with Jeremy as the target. Jeremy tried to get Nick to turn on his alliance, even telling him about their plans to take him out, and thus, Nick ironically went from a dead duck to swing vote. At Tribal though, after Michelle neglected 2 votes with a successful coin flip, Nick stayed strong to his alliance, sending Jeremy to the Edge over Ben in the 3-2 vote.
15th person voted out of Survivor. Winners at war. Jeremy, need to bring me your torch. Jeremy, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 13 continues on with Michelle finally having enough, and with nothing to lose being on the bottom, attempted to get Sarah and Ben to turn on Tony. However, she knew her pleas were mostly falling on deaf ears, and knew the only way she could protect herself was by winning immunity, and she would do just that, once again foiling the majority's plans. So Tony's trio then had to decide between Nick and Denise, and while they agreed Nick was a much bigger jury threat and was closer to the outside of Michelle, Tony began to panic about Denise after his spy check led him to hear her make a final 3 deal with his true final 3 in Sarah and Ben. At Tribal though, the trio picked up Denise to blindside Nick, making him the final boot being sent to the Edge.
Nick, tribe has spoken.
It's the finale now of, in some ways, the culmination of 20 years of legendary Survivor, and it starts off with the final re-entry duel, and Natalie, who had been on the edge for over a month, used all the advantages she picked up to earn herself a spot back in the game.
She's got it! Natalie has earned her way back into this game! She is now part of the final six. What a story!
I can't believe this.
Michelle and Natalie quickly bonded, as Michelle told her about the Majority 4 alliance. Natalie then showed her the idol she got for getting back into the game, and promised she would use it to further both their games. And at the immunity challenge, Michelle, in the same challenge that essentially won her co-wrong, once again won, with her signature celebration kick to boot.
That's it.
That is it! Michelle wins individual immunity!
Despite Natalie being the obvious target, Tony feared she would get an idol like Chris Underwood did, and wanted to split the votes on her and Denise. But Sarah, feeling like her game was being overshadowed by Tony's, was completely against this, and wanted to put all the votes on Natalie, to which Tony reluctantly agreed with. However, this came back to bite the majority, as Natalie would indeed play her idol, forcing Tony and Ben to play theirs, causing a no-vote tribal since Natalie and Michelle voted for Ben. And on the revote between Sarah and Denise, Natalie and Michelle sent the Queenslayer to the jury in a unanimous vote.
Denise, the tribe has spoken.
With everyone knowing there would be at least one immunity idol back in the game, Natalie would be the one to find it. After Tony won his 4th immunity, he got Sarah to convince Natalie to show her the idol, and with that, the majority 3 knew they had no choice but to go for Michelle tonight. However, Ben, knowing he was a GOAT and feeling like his Survivor journey was complete, wanted to help his close friend of Sarah with her resume, and gave her permission to vote him out. Despite this actually probably being detrimental to Sarah's game, she went along with the plan, flipping her vote, and most importantly, flipping on Tony as well in front of the jury.
18th person voted out of Survivor, winners at war. Ben.
Ooh. You know I'm getting a hug from you too, Mr. Death.
I'll take it. Ben, the tribe has spoken.
It's the final immunity challenge now, and Natalie would go from first boot to a spot in the final 3, winning her first and most important immunity. When it came down to her decision, Natalie felt like she had done enough and put her 2 biggest threats against each other in fire. And thus, in one of Survivor's most iconic moments, the 2 friends of Tony and Sarah would duke it out to become Survivor's greatest player.
And it is over. What a showdown between competitors.
Messina, the tribe has spoken.
While the final 3 were all given massive props for their very different games played to get to the end, the jury just simply couldn't overlook Tony's incredible gameplay despite his massive target coming in, and thus, he was crowned the winner of Survivor Winners at War in a 12-4-0 vote over Natalie and Michelle respectively, to become the King of Survivor.
The winner of Survivor Winners at War, Tony. Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you all so much for not only watching this retrospective of Survivor Winners at War, but all my retrospectives of Survivor, as it's been a hell of a ride. Please be sure to like and subscribe to support the series, and let me know what you think of the season in the comments below. With all that said, thanks again everyone for watching.